Good morning, folks, and welcome to Best Stock Charts for the coming week. This is an impromptu live stream. I didn't plan on it. I just figured, what the heck? Let's go live rather than doing the whole editing thing today. And I usually have more fun doing the live streams anyway. So um, let's talk about how our week was last week. It didn't end great. Friday was not a great day, but overall the week was good. We continued with our selling of covered calls, as well as we did some put selling last week. And for those that are not familiar, when you sell a put, you are the banker, not the borrower, meaning that time decay is on your side. So we sold the NUGT, and this chart is in front of you right now, NUGT, the 29.50 strike price, which we knew was historical support. And I actually wanted those shares to get assigned to us, but it didn't work out. But we did collect a premium of 67 cents per contract. So we brought in cash flow there. We also, on the rally back, sold the 33 strike price covered call for 18 cents per contract. So again, we brought in more cash flow and we added more to this position in the week. We're up on the NUGT trade. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't happy with Friday's trade. We held on to the position, and I did not roll out and up and into different covered calls moving out to the coming week because of volatility. And you may be asking, what's on the headlines, because we have an abbreviated week next week. We have impeachment, folks. We have a trial of a sitting U.S. president. And we have some of the most dirty people in the world that are going to be over the weekend and into next week as the Senate begins to hear opening statements on Tuesday, I believe. Yes. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told reporters on Tuesday he expects opening arguments in Trump's trial to begin on the 21st. So Pelosi and the mad dog of left-wingers, they will try to pull out every dirty trick possible to have a last-minute gotcha moment of evidence or an allegation forcing the moderate Republicans to defect from their party and to try to oust a sitting president of the United States. I have no doubt there are corporate interests on both sides, whether they be Democrat, Republican. They want this guy out. They want him out, and they want to go back to business as usual. Whether or not you like him, whether or not you hate him, is it right what they're doing? And I'm not going to go into this any further, but there's going to be a lot of volatility this coming week, and that's why I'm probably going to shift up strategy in terms of selling covered calls, and I'm going to go over that with members on the week ahead commentary, which is going to be coming out later on today to members, and we'll talk about the symbols that we're watching for the coming week. I'm going to do a high-level overview of those symbols, and those symbols are BL, ADAP, CBB, GSX, COO, CRVL, and one of my favorites is Apple. Apple to the short side. I'm going to leave that to last, and we're going to be looking at LABU and WANT, which is the leveraged ETF, putting you long of consumer discretionary. So a mixed bag of longs and shorts for the coming week. And then we're going to talk about, again, on the members' week ahead commentary, we're going to talk strategy of how we're going to mix it up a little bit with regard to our cash flow strategy using the call options for NUGT, because we don't want to cap our upside potential here, because if we do have a volatility spike next week because of fear that a sitting U.S. president will be ousted from office, you're going to see the markets tank, and you're going to see gold, the miners, silver, whatnot. It is all going to spike up higher along with volatility. So we're going to be talking strategy. So join us later on today, please. 14-day free trial offer. And let's get to it. Where do I want to go next? Let's go to the charts that we're watching. And members will talk about our positions, including NUGT, later on today. And we'll go to, I've already done a screen here. We'll go to our long trades first, and then we'll talk about the trades that we're looking to short. So the trades that we're looking to get long of are LABU. We've traded this recently. We've booked profits. And what concerned me here was that we were rallying and possibly putting in a lower high on a daily chart. But that's not really the chart I'm interested in as a long. What I'm interested in more so, let's go to the annotated version first. What I'm interested in more so is, pardon me, folks, I should have been more prepared. Again, this is impromptu. I didn't plan on doing a live stream today. What I'm interested in more is the monthly chart, and this is our strategy. We're not day traders here. We don't sit in front of our monitors all day long watching every tick. We're more strategic in nature. And what I'm looking for here is a continuation move higher. And so far this month, we have an up month. We're up 2.38%. And I'm looking for a continuation move higher, ideally above the 64.35 mark. So what I want to do, and I may be adding prior to that mark, what I want to do is I want to draw my line in the sand. And here you have it, right? We have a bit of resistance back here. So we'll be watching for the shares of LABU to break out on a monthly basis. We'll get an early indicator of whether or not we're going to get that rally up and into resistance using a daily chart or an intraday chart. But ideally, we don't want to get ultra long, meaning aggressively long, until such time as we break out and above this upper band of resistance on a monthly basis. That would be a continuation breakout, and that would have us interested in the shares. Members, we're going to do a deep dive on the daily chart and perhaps the weekly chart of LABU, identifying a setup and where we might want to get long as soon as this coming week of the shares of LABU. The next chart up is WANT, another Direxion product. We have traded this one in the past, was a profitable trade, and now we're looking to get back involved yet again. Now, WANT has broken out. I know I have it here somewhere. It has broken out. The one thing that's great about doing things recorded is that you can edit out these gaps in time. I know I have it here. All right, let's forget about it. Let's go to the weekly chart, and I'll show you what we were looking at last week. And we spoke about this last week. We were looking for a breakout on WANT, and we got that breakout. And so what we'll be looking for this coming week is a continuation move higher and or a retest of the breakout point. And again, later on today, we'll do a deep dive. This is just a higher level view of what we're looking for on these charts. We'll do a deep dive into the daily and intraday charts of all of these symbols, talking about our potential setups. What are we looking for that is going to trigger us to get involved with these trades? And we do follow a rules-based approach, meaning we're not going in simply because the market opens up and I like it on a weekly chart. I'm going to go buying the shares on Tuesday morning. The markets are closed on Monday, folks. Martin Luther King Day. We want a certain event to occur, and it could be one or two types of events, and we'll look for those to happen. Then we will look to open up our trade, but it will be a rules-based approach as always. Moving on to potential shorts. I've spoken about potential short of Boeing for a few weeks now, and going back to December. And I warned that we had a head and shoulder setup forming, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. At current, we are flirting with the lower band of support. Now the low of December was 320 spot 61. We do not have a new monthly lower low yet. Stokes continue to weaken up. We were up earlier in the month. We have given up those gains. And RSI is weak. It's holding the 50 mark, trying to flatten out. Whether or not it holds that mark, it's yet to be seen. So just because we have the potential for a head and shoulders setup, it means nothing. I've seen more head and shoulders setups negated, meaning it appears as though you're going to break down only to rally, right? We don't fall into that camp of, wow, look at this, we're going to get in front of this trade. No. What I want to see is a continuation breakdown, and then we're going to short the event, not hope when we should fear. So members, more to come today on a potential short of Boeing. Now, I'm going to do a deeper dive on a few stocks that on a daily basis have extreme oversold conditions that are causing me to do some analysis and possibly looking to short these trades. Whether or not I short the common stock is yet to be determined. Perhaps I'll be using a bear put spread, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 symbols I'm going to be going over on a daily chart, and then one Apple, which I'm going to go over on a weekly chart. With members, we'll go over the daily chart. And with all of these, Apple is already setting up for a really good short, but with the other 5 names, I'm going to go over the daily chart. I'm just going to go over the whys. Why are we looking at these symbols? And then with members later on today, we're going to be going over the historical charts, right? Not the daily chart. These daily charts are just a qualifier making it onto our screen as a potential short. What I'm going to be looking for is on a macro view, a weekly or ideally a monthly view, historical resistance above at which we could short into. Why? It's because all of these charts are very, very strong. And to short into them, you better have an edge. Especially if you're going to be using put options, you better have an edge. And a bear put spread, for those of these symbols that are optionable, it's when you buy an out of the money put option, a deep out of the money put option, and you buy a near or at the money put option. That sale of the deep out of the money put option helps finance. Sorry, I just hit the microphone. Sorry about that. Hey, RL. Happy Saturday, brother. It helps finance the purchase of that put contract. So Google bear put spread and go to Investopedia. They have a very good definition. Oh, they always have good stuff there. So go to Investopedia and it'll help you determine or to educate yourself on what that spread looks like. But it's basically the financing of a put contract, and it limits your upside potential, your profit potential, but that's okay. We're not expecting these stocks to crash. We're just looking to scalp a trade, profit, move to the sidelines, and reduce our risk by making that sale of an out-of-money put contract and help financing that that purchase of a put contract. For those that are stocks that are below $100, we may look to short the common stock. It all depends upon whether or not you get the borrows, right? I don't know if we're going to have the borrows available on many of these stocks. So we're just qualifying these stocks as potential shorts. Next week, we'll know whether or not we're going to be able to execute on a short strategy. So more to come. So let's get through these symbols. I don't want to get too long in the tooth here. We'll begin with CRVL. I have no idea what they do. I have no idea what the short interest is. We're going to go to a daily chart. Members, we're going to go back to the macro view later on. Weekly, monthly charts, where is in past history historical resistance? That gives us an edge when we short into those resistance levels. We're not there yet. We haven't reached that level of analysis. We're just doing a qualifier. And looking at the daily chart of CRVL, we have RSI 91.09, extremely overbought. That being said, we can go higher. because strong stocks tend to get stronger and weak stocks tend to get weaker. Obviously, our uptrend is rock solid. This 93.96 level is support. We did flash on Friday a filled candlestick. That's a sign of indecision, meaning that you had a little bit of a tug of war between bulls and bears, and ultimately the bulls won out, which is no shocker. But these are signs, signals by the market. That's signs, signals by the market that you're perhaps getting long in the tooth. Does that mean it can't go higher? No, it can go higher. For many reasons, it could still go higher. There's a lot of hot money chasing the stock right now. And again, what they do and why they're rallying, I have no idea. I'll educate myself later on. We're just qualifying these stocks right now as potential shorts. Look at the volume. Volume is drying up here with the MACD histogram leveling off. So this stock is close to being a short. Let's see if it's optionable. It is optionable. How liquid those options are, that matters, right? So we may just short the common stock if we can get the borrow. So we'll be talking more about that with members. I'm also going to want to take a look at the short interest. Are these weak shorts helping spike up the stock? I don't know. I need to do more analysis. So I'll share that with members later on the week ahead commentary. The next chart up that we'll be looking to possibly short is COO, Cooper's Company. We have RSI at current at 87.85. We are leaning into, just shy of, I should say, but very, very close to the third standard deviation Bollinger Band. We are very, very extended here. That doesn't mean it can't move higher. The first thing I look at is volume, and there's a lot of hot money accumulating these shares. And this is not mom and pop buying 100 shares. We still have momentum to the upside. The question is, where do we have historical resistance, if any? We broke out last week above resistance. So this is one that's very interesting. They do trade options. So we'll make note of that, because this is certainly one where we would be looking to open up a bear put spread. And again, a bear put spread limits our upside in terms of profitability. However, it allows us to manage our risk, and it predefines our risk, right? So I know my max loss, and that's always a good thing. So members, more to come on COO. We're going to be doing a deeper dive into historical resistance, because again, we want to identify where we have. Okay, thanks for that, RL. Appreciate it. We want to identify where we have historical resistance, because shorting into that resistance level helps give us an edge versus other traders who are just shorting the shares willy-nilly. They're opening up their charts and they're saying, wow, RSI above 80 or 70, or you got to short it. That's crazy. That's insanity. Think about if you would have shorted this stock when RSI went above 70. You get these books out there. You would have shorted it right here. Actually, no, back here. Wow. You would have shorted it here at around the 8th at 326. That's roughly $25 ago. and you would have lost your head. So beware. Be very, very aware. Strong stocks tend to get stronger. Weak stocks tend to get weaker. Don't forget that. I repeat myself for a reason. So members, more to come later on today. COO. The next stock up is GSX. And before I go further here, I want to point out something that it's been a long time since my screener has brought up so many stocks with RSI above 90. That's a concern. There's a lot of froth in this market. I'm able to tell by looking at my screener and its results where we're at. Are we seeing a lot of muni bond purchases? Are we seeing a lot of discretionary names being overbought? In this case here, are we seeing a lot of stocks with RSI above 90? And we do. I mean, it's crazy right now. So we're just one needle prick from bursting a bubble here, and it's not going to be pretty. So that doesn't mean it's going to end next week, but we do have catalysts out there to send this market lower. And I don't think the fact that we have a sitting president being put on trial next week is being given enough due. Daily chart, GSX RSI at current 91.11. These shares can move higher. Why am I convinced of that? Look at Friday's price action. We closed out the day at the highs of the day. Yes, the markets told us we had some sellers above on Thursday. It was negated on Friday. We broke through resistance. Volume still strong. You can't short these stocks yet. Might it gap down on Tuesday? Sure. But at current, this chart is telling me it wants to go higher. So I can't go running in, shorting the stock simply because I have RSI above 90. It's more to that. So again, members will do some analysis on GSX. These shares are sitting with a 30 handle. They're not optionable. So this is a stock we would need to be looking to short the common shares. Volume is fairly good, so it looks like a liquid stock. We should be able to get to borrow. And let's move on to CBB. I know they signed a deal with YouTube. I did a little bit of analysis on there on the news, driving the stock higher. I caught a couple of downgrades on that news, but I view that as bullish. The fact that the shares shrugged off the downgrades and moved up higher. Now we're sitting with RSI 92.62. We closed out at the highs of the day. The shares are optionable. However, this is a very cheap stock. I'm not sure when that news came out. Perhaps that's why we have the gap here. I have to go back and check out my dates. Volume on Friday was still very good. We do have, or did have, some historical resistance above. Let's throw a line up here. Where the weekly resistance is, if any, I have no idea. I haven't looked yet. But I'll be doing that later on this morning. And we'll get ready for the week ahead commentary. And we'll do some further analysis. So members, more to come here. And there's a word I use for setups like this, folks. It's that the uptrend is just simply unsustainable. It's just unsustainable. Can it move higher? Yes, we're very open-minded. If you're going to short, especially shorting, extreme overbought stocks, you better be open-minded. Open-minded as to the whys behind the shares are being bid up. Is there a huge short interest? That's a catalyst. Are the fundamentals outstanding? Is there a scarcity of their product? You need to be open-minded. And where is historical resistance on the charts? First and foremost, where is that historical resistance? Let's take a look at, I need more coffee. ADAP. And if anybody likes these live, screens for best stock charts, if you just let me know in the comments, And I'll do them live from now on, or also just continue to do them pre-recorded. All right, so this is Adaptimmune. You can see how much research I've done on these so far. I have no idea why this looks like a biotech stock. It is moving higher on some news here. I haven't done a lot of analysis here. I'll make that clear. We have RSI at 93.05. The one thing I should point out, and this is for those that are new to trading extreme overbought or oversold stocks, when you have a stock that's in the single digits and it's below 20 or even 10 on RSI or above 90 on RSI, it's not unusual. So don't get lured in to the RSI all too much. I mean, look at where we had RSI earlier. It was even higher on the week. We're pulling back off the highs. We are looking long in the tooth here because I mentioned earlier that a filled candlestick is an indicator that you do have some indecision. We were trading above the third standard deviation Bollinger Band. In fact, we closed above it on the 13th, and you saw a big wick, a topping tail. Now the question is, do we break out to a new higher high, or do we fail and put in a lower high and begin to break down? So again, of course, we'll be taking a look at, you can see where historical resistance came into play, even on a daily chart, the April highs. We'll be taking a look at the intraday chart, seeing whether or not we have any intraday divergences on RSI, on stochastics, and then we'll pull back, of course, to the weekly chart and identify our monthly where we have historical resistance, because just because we're identifying on a daily chart that we may have the potential for a double top doesn't mean that we're right yet. We need to do more analysis and spend some time on the chart. Big volume last week, but note how volume is dropping off dramatically. We're flattening out on MACD histogram, so we're beginning to lose a bit of momentum. So more to come here. It's optionable on a biotech stock, even though it's a cheap stock. You never know when they're going to come out with an announcement. So I would rather predefine my risk and know what my maximum outlay is going to be if I get wiped out on it. So I would rather trade the options rather than shorting the common shares, if I can even get the common shares. So I don't know if you can get the borrow. So we'll have to do more research on that. So ADP, optionable, and a possible double top. We'll take a look at that in a deeper dive on the weekend commentary with members. BL. Let's see. I don't have any comments. Good. All right. BL. Black line. Optionable. Technology company. We have RSI at 85.18. Hollow filled candlestick. Closing out the week last week above on a daily basis, the third standard deviation Bollinger Band. The end is near for this one. Yet we still have up volume that's very strong. MACD histogram still rising. And I have no idea if we have historical resistance above. So very short term, it's not looking good. If we open up, have an inside day on Tuesday, the probability of a continuation move higher is fairly good. Especially if we trade sideways for a few days. This is not one of my favorites to the short side, but it's certainly still a candidate. More analysis needs to get done. And again, we are optionable. And we'll look to see where we have more data in terms of resistance or overhead supply above on the weekly and monthly charts later on the week ahead commentary with members. And I'm going to leave off with Apple. We'll go to that chart now. And I'm going to go over the weekly chart of Apple. And Apple is setting up as a beautiful short. And I know that earnings are coming. And rarely do I trade. That's not Apple. Rarely do I trade stocks into earnings, but I will if they are at extreme overbought levels or extreme oversold levels. Now, Apple on a weekly basis, think about it, this is the largest company in the world, and we have RSI at 90.06. You want to talk about unsustainable and very, very subject to a sell the news event. Whether that news be good or bad, it's just the anticipation that's driving the stock up higher right now. Volume last week continues to be good. We are at all-time highs. So do we have an indicator on a daily or an intraday basis, from a 2-hour basis, 4-hour basis, then up to a daily basis, implying that we're beginning to see signs of a negative divergence? Because that's where it's going to begin before it appears on a daily chart. You're going to see it on an intraday basis. So we closed out the week last week at the highs of the week, or very close to. A very powerful week. So looking at a weekly chart, I'll say this. In all probability, we're going to make a new weekly high. I've been bullish on the shares for several weeks now, and they've been overbought for several weeks. So am I looking to go rushing in on Tuesday morning to short Apple simply because on a weekly basis we have RSI at 90.06? It's tempting, but no, not ready yet. We need to do more analysis because weak stocks tend to get, strong stocks tend to get stronger, weak stocks tend to get weaker. And that is it for today, folks. Thanks for joining in. Please click that like button if you get any value out of the video. Thank you very much for joining in. Have a great extended weekend if you have one, and have a profitable trading week. Be well.